Hey, I'm Jerry.
Hey, I'm Aaron. And this is Retro Rehab.
Welcome back to Retro Rehab, the greatest collaboration of all time. You know it, I know it, Aaron knows it. Aaron, tell him. Tell him, Aaron.
It's true. I promise, please. Yes, it's true. Could I have a snack now?
Yes, you may have a treat. You may have a TREAT.
Thank you.
All right. Well, look, today we are very excited to have this guest joining us. Whether you've tuned in to his frequent updates of the Mr. Project, which I have, by God damn it, I've been there every step of the way, or maybe you've seen some of his other retro videos on his YouTube channel. He is the creator of the YouTube channel Video Game Esoterica. Welcome to Retro Rehab, Anthony.
Thanks for having me, guys, and sorry for making esoterica such a hard word to say. I cannot tell you how many times in my own intro I just shit that up. It's been come out as like Esosarmica. Like, it is those first 10 seconds I ruined like 8 times. So the fact that you got it right the first time, highly impressed. You did better than I do at my own channel introduction.
Hell yeah. Look at that. Us experienced podcasters here. Anthony, please plug and promote. Yeah, I guess we've both been doing this for like 3 years or something like that. It doesn't matter. What does matter, Anthony, please plug and promote anything and everything Video Game Esoterica.
Oh man, well, first of all, just thanks for having me on, guys. I've loved chatting about this stuff. You know, anyone that'll listen. I've been doing this for like, God, almost 7 years now. I mean, if the channel was a child, it would probably be in like first grade, which is kind of scary to think because I don't have any children that I know about. So if they're out there, maybe they're in like 5th or 6th grade, we don't know. But no, it's been a ton of fun. It's just one of those things, like, I've always been collecting games, you know, doing this research and preservation stuff. And I figured one day, I'm like, well, I have all this stuff, and what's the point of having it all if I'm not sharing it, giving it away, making videos about it, just kind of like talking about it? Because the thing in my life is, I've got one friend who plays video games, and he does not play arcade games. He's mostly like Stardew Valley, which is a fun game, but I have no one in my real life to be like, hey, do you know about this like rare as shit arcade board? Everyone's like looking at me like I've got 3 heads and their eyes are glossing over, and I realize time to stop talking. So the channel is basically just me like playing free candy van and trying to compel people that has shared my interest into a group of people that like that stuff. So I've always got something going on. Like a couple weeks ago, I was capturing Thunder in Paradise because I'm going to do a full motion video series in January next year. Basically, going to try to ruin my own channel by doing that. The things that I'm the most excited about, no one watches. So we're going to be having some Hulk Hogan on the channel.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
I wish you were my friend. Like, anytime I talk to any of my friends about video games, they're always like, well, I mean, I play Destiny and like Call of Duty and shit. And it's like, no, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about Super Metroid. I want to talk about Dolphin Blue. God damn it.
Oh, God damn it. Dolphin Blue is so good.
It is legit good. I've got an Atomic Wave sitting next to me, and I was just capturing that and King of Fighters Neo Wave a couple weeks ago. I've been doing a whole arcade storage closet reorganization, and by reorganization, I mean righting all the wrongs I've committed by just getting new things and shoving them into the closet, kind of like a backpack when you're 6 years old. You're like, I can just get more in this thing. I just keep pushing stuff in. So I've been going through a whole reorganization and capturing a bunch of rare boards.
It's like a serial killer going back to his kill sites and just digging up all the bodies and being like,
yeah,
oh God, what do I have to do with these now?
Yeah, it's been pretty bad, but I've mostly gotten through it, but it took forever because what would have been a day's worth of work, I'd be like, oh, I haven't talked about this in like 5 years. I should sit down and play it. Then I got to find the harness and the cables and remember how the hell I even hook it up in the first place. And then suddenly 5 hours have gone by and I've made a more big mess than I started with. So,
man. Yep. So, for those listeners out there that aren't familiar with Video Game Esoterica, what would be the elevator pitch for your channel?
If you've never heard of it before, I'll probably talk about it. That would really be the elevator pitch. Is maybe you remember a photograph of something from some magazine, or maybe you played an arcade game 20 years ago when you were out with your parents at a restaurant and you just do not remember what that game is, but you have this vivid memory of something. It's probably on my channel. I get that comment so much, being like, I didn't know the name of this game. I played it once on vacation and now you've reintroduced me to it. Now I can, played it on MAME and I'm so happy. If you've never heard of it, I probably talk about it. That would be the elevator pitch. Plus a bunch of other stuff, FPGA, preservation, spending a lot of money to get prototypes to give them away for absolutely free, and pretty bad jokes. That too.
I love it when you like chirp people that are in like the Mr. Discord, like in a video, like just a subtle little drop.
Oh yeah, so if you're on Discord, especially, and he's gonna hate that I say this, one of the moderators, Robbie, I am just brutal with him. Robbie. I have made so many jokes about him, and he loves it. It's a game, but he's gotten to the point now where he realizes, like, anytime he says anything that's like even slightly an opening for a joke, it's like he puts the ball on the tee, and I just Barry Bonds that thing out of the stadium, into the parking lot, through his window in his car. So Robbie, I'm gonna send you this link, and you can hear it.
Dude, I've been there for it. Like when I started getting into the Mr. stuff, it was like at the cusp of when, in the middle of like all the N64 hype stuff, and like just being in the N64 dev channel and like watching you guys go back and forth. And I think the first time I ever spoke in that channel, I asked, like, because I knew that the guy that made the N64 core, his name was Robert. So I was like, oh, hey, Robbie, are you the guy that made the N64 core? And you shut that shit down so fast. You were like,
started it.
No,
I
he's
just
not.
ended
This guy's not that smart.
No, he's just he's an awesome guy. He worked on Doom, which is probably not why it's a good game. I'm sure it was in spite of him that it turned out good. But I love Robbie, so when he listens to this, I didn't mean anything I said, but I probably meant all of it.
We love you, Robbie. Oh, man. So before we get into our topic of the day, which is, of course, we got Video Game Esoterica here with us. We're going to talk about some rare shit, specifically rare and obscure arcade games.
Fuck yeah.
And I cannot wait to pick your brain about this, because I feel like you have a brain that is overflowing with knowledge about these kinds of things.
My brain is so full of arcade knowledge that I will often leave remote controls in the crisper drawer in the refrigerator. There's only so much space in my brain, and I've thrown away so much useful information. I still think Labor Day happens before Memorial Day, and I'm never going to stop thinking that. So ask me video game questions, not about holidays.
And yeah, what else are you gonna use that goddamn crisper drawer for? I still don't understand what it's for, other than storing other shit. Like, it doesn't crisp things. It doesn't do that.
I use it for cheese. That's what I use it for. Just an overabundance of cheese that I have in my house.
You buy lettuce. You get lettuce with all the intentions in the world of eating it, then you put it in the crisper drawer, and then you wait for it to rot, you throw it away, say, I'm not going to do that again, and then 2 days later, you're back at the store being like, this is the time I'm going to eat the lettuce, and then you just put it back in the crisper. It's basically just a drawer where you put money to disappear.
Yeah, lettuce. It'll be like, I'm gonna be healthy and snack only on baby carrots and hummus, and then like a week later, I'll be walking by my fridge, open up the drawer, like, feeling pretty hungry. You could eat these carrots, but I could also be a gigantic fucking slug man and eat 4 packs of Flamin' Hot Fritos or whatever, and then go to bed with like Flamin' Hot Frito powder in my mouth.
I mean, I eat when my wife was working a lot, she would have like long shifts. What do you have for dinner? I'm like, I had sink cheese. It's when you eat cheese over the sink. So when it crumbles, it just goes into the sink. You don't have a plate. There's no napkin. So I get it. Like Fritos, sink cheese. Yeah, it's a Midwestern staple. Sink cheese.
Holy shit! That's fucking hilarious.
Sink cheese.
Oh, Christ Almighty!
Oh man,
I am using that one. I am adopting so much of the lexicon of Video Game Esoterica after this episode. Let me tell you what.
Just like all the arcade prototypes, it's all for free. Anyone who can take it and do whatever they want with
it. Hell yeah. But before we get into our topic, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
You know the question. What could possibly be new in the world of retro, my friend?
Well, I'll tell you, god damn it. Plug and wait, whoops, I almost said the wrong thing.
I'll tell you what's new in the retro. Plug and promote.
Oh my god, we're professionals. Sorry. Yeah, Mega Man 3. Oh shit, yeah, I saw this. Mega Man 3 has now been ported to SNES with MSU1 media enhancement. That fucking SNES port looks so nice. Holy shit. I think I showed that to I think we showed that in the anti-game of the year group a couple times. And
so you're thinking of the one that they took the Genesis Wily Wars. That's the one you're thinking of. This is literally Mega Man 3 for NES, but ported to SNES. That's what this is.
It just came out like 2 days ago.
I've seen that.
Oh, I did a capture of that this morning for a video tomorrow at 4, and my 3 observations are: the dude that does those, Infidelity, absolutely kills it with these ports. They are just insane with all of the MSU1 enhancements, all of the new soundtrack. And my second takeaway is, I always forget that I absolutely fucking suck at Mega Man. Getting the footage for these videos is so hard. It's just like an hour and 20 minutes of me playing just to try to get to one boss, because every jump kills me. I'm just like, I love that these exist, but again, just like something like Ghouls and Ghosts, I'm probably never going to see the credits. I just don't have the time anymore. But that port is so good.
It really is, yeah. Like I think he did the one for Metroid as well, right?
Yeah, he did Metroid, and then he did another one a couple months ago. I think it was the original Mega Man. He's done a ton of them. It's so hard to keep track of them, but he's been really like hitting them hard lately. I think it was either him or somebody else. I may get this muddled, but someone just did Punch Out to Super Nintendo as well. I think that may have been. That was either Infidelity or another guy. I can't remember now, but there's been a ton of ports to Super Nintendo this year.
I think he's working on Contra next, I think is what he was alluding to on Twitter today or yesterday or whenever that was he made that post.
Could be.
He's pretty much just like doing back to back ports of these. It's pretty wild. I love to see it. And for the folks listening, if you don't know what MSU1 is, essentially what that is it's a enhancement to the audio in the game. So instead of the game having, well, in these cases, like the Nintendo Entertainment System chiptune style music, you're getting like actual damn near orchestrated music. Like, is it CD quality? Like, I feel like that Metroid one was like, had like an orchestra and stuff in it. Like, it sounded insane.
It's PCM audio, so the bitrate wise is as good as, if not better, I think, technically, than something like Redbook audio off a CD. So it's like, of the bitrate, probably as good. And then it could do all the like FMV videos as well. There's like full like Road Blaster, the like Laserdisc arcade game, has a port on MSU1 now, so you can play the entire game as an FMV. And it's just crazy that somebody could imagine this, because it's not like an MSU1 chip doesn't really technically exist. It's in an FPGA code, or it's in a flash card in an FPGA, but like, people just whole cloth invented that chip. It's not anything that ever like came off a assembly line somewhere. And it's just, I'm always blown away by what people can come up with, because as much as I know and do, I'm an idiot compared to like 99% of the people that are doing this mod work. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I push the power button, I hit the record button, I start talking, and something cool happens. You guys actually make the stuff.
I know. Like we had Jamie, aka Katrinks, on our last episode, and when she was talking about like when she was helping develop the NES core, my eyes were starting to like fold into the back of my head, because I was like, I don't know what you're really talking about. Like, I'm full disclosure, like none of this makes sense. I mean, it does. Like, I guess I get it at like a very, very like topical level. Like but she was talking about all kinds of crazy shit, which is wild. I love hearing it. It's like whispering sweet nothings into my ear that I don't understand.
yeah. Carry the 348 to the third power. She said she was using math and like a calculator and shit to figure it out. So like that's what I'm going. That's where I'm going with this. But yeah.
Yeah, it gets wildly complex out there. I mean, I've done some stuff like I did some reverse engineering on like Konami security encryption for arcade boards, but that was less like math and more like a thought problem. Because once you figure out like what the person that wrote it was thinking, once you figure out one solution to kind of how all the data like marries together and kind of like gives that digital handshake to let the board boot, then you kind of realize you understand what that person was thinking, and now knowing how their thought process works, you can work back from that and kind of now guess and break some more of their encryption. It's like,
cool.
To me, more of like a mental puzzle than it is math. I mean, I took a lot of math in high school and college, and I'm good at it, but I certainly don't want to do it for a living. That's for sure.
Yeah. You also, like, speaking on that too, you also were putting out some videos, and you were giving some updates about kind of messing around with Conker, because, you know, if you know anything about the Mister and the N64 core development, the one white whale of that whole development cycle was Conker 64, and the fact that we got to a brick wall where we just couldn't push any more out of that poor core, like, was just stretched to the max, and Robert was like, that's it's not gonna work. But then you discovered that the turbo core was able to run it, and you were getting close to like figuring out maybe what is actually making that have those like intermittent crashing.
Yeah, so I'm still working on it. I'll have another video. It's already made. I make so much stuff sometimes that I then like struggle to find places to put it, but I am still working on it. So if you take the turbo core, which runs the CPU at a higher clock speed, and then you take the prototype ROM of the game, which is like 99% the exact same game. There's like a couple like lines of dialogue that are different, but it is essentially, if you played both games back to back, you'd be hard pressed to notice any sort of difference. That game becomes more stable on the turbo core. I've played it from start to finish for the testing, and I froze the game exactly 3 times. Got to the credits, which I would consider playable. You can beat the game.
Wow.
Every time anything happens, you know, important in Conker, it sets a save flag, it saves automatically, so you're really not losing that much, you know, gameplay time if it does freeze. But I've gotten it down to a near to replicatable crash, and it all has to do with memory allocation, because the game uses, basically the Nintendo 64 can have heat memory, which means you got a 10-gallon bucket, and you got 10 gallons of shit. Shove the shit in the bucket wherever you want to. There's not like a 3 pounds of corn allocation and then a 5 pounds of I ate too many hamburgers allocation. You can put whatever you want anywhere. I am trying to make this funny and dumb it down so it doesn't get too eye glazy.
This is perfect. So, this is what people of Retro Rehab want.
It crashes because the heap runs out of memory, which just means there's not a big enough contiguous area in RAM from, you know, address X to Y, say, for it to write, and then it basically is trying to read or write to an address that's already used or allocated. Then it just basically has a 2:30 in the morning, I'm drunk at the bar panic attack, falls on flat on its face and blacks out. So I'm just trying to figure out with some other people how to change how the memory allocation works so that it doesn't try to overwrite or overread those memory addresses. I'm close, but the first 95% of the work takes 50% of the time, and the last 5% of the work takes the other 50% of the time. And with doing 2 videos a day in the rest of my life, I haven't had a chance to really get too deep into it lately, but I do have some more findings with some real hardware, and that should be out hopefully like Friday or Sunday is the plan, but with me that might mean a month from now.
Nice. So back to the news here. One, I actually noticed this not long ago, but I kind of stored it in the back of my brain and was like, I guess that's normal. But the PS2 AV cable sag, I was like, I feel like this is maybe hurting this cable. But I guess somebody came out with like a 3D printed remedy that just kind of like clips onto the AV cable and just kind of holds it up so that it's not sagging, which is kind of cool. It's by Kaitor Industries.
Kaitor. That's cool.
Kaitor Industries.
I've always just put a book behind it. Just prop it up with a book. What else are you going to do with those books after you finish them, like the Harry Potters and such?
I didn't. This was news to me. Like, I get it, cable sag, like with Mister. I'm always talking about the VGA cable being like, it's heavy, don't knock your Mister off the table, you're gonna like crack some solder joints. But I had no idea on the PlayStation 2. But I mean, it makes sense, and I'm glad they're not going to break. PlayStation 2s are so uncommon, we don't want to have to replace them, right?
Yeah, there's barely any in the wild.
Yeah, there's like 10 or 20 or 30 million in the US alone. But yeah, I get it. It's always, I'm always impressed by this 3D printing thing too. Like, you know, I'm a filmmaker for a living. I get like how images work. But when people start turning stuff around in 3D models and like making things in a 3D space, I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And if I did, everything I 3D printed would just be some sort of dirty thing as a joke to give to my friends. That's what would come out. It wouldn't be an anti-sag cable attachment. It would just be something horrifying.
Happy birthday. Here's a 3D printed replica of Wario's ass.
Here's a flesh golem made entirely out of old people's kneecaps. Dude, if I had a 3D printer, I definitely would not be thinking of ways to help humanity in video games and shit. I would just be like, I'm gonna make Pokemon figurines and keep them all to myself.
No, it's my technology.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the 50-second Polytoad. Wait your turn. I don't know why people are waiting for turns.
Kids out of the way and shit. But yeah, so PS2 AV cable sag, no more. Thanks to Kaiser Industries.
And Blastwind on the Sega Saturn gets an English translation, and it looks fucking sweet.
Yeah, dude. Those shmups. Shmups are so good.
Especially on the Sega Saturn, like the ports of the Darius or Darius games, I still don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just going with how Shmup Junkie says it, which is Darius, but they're ports of like Darius G and the other two, I forget their names. They run so fucking smoothly, and like the load times are. What I'm getting at is like the Saturn is so good with shmups, dude. I'm excited for this one.
It is awesome hardware for shmups, and the great thing, like, and I know we've had software emulation forever, but like trying to get a software emulator into the back of a TV, like an old tube TV, is a pain in the ass. There's so many adapters, and it's just not fun. Like, people have been like talking on my channel, being like, I just heard about this shmup like for the first time, and I'm so happy about that, because so many of these games are like, oh, you want to buy a real copy and play it on like your CRT television, like. Some of them are mortgage payment expensive, like, you know, $800, $1,000, $1,500. So now people finally, a little bit late, unfortunately, for Sega's bottom line, are finally discovering that the Sega Saturn, in fact, does not suck. That this storyline that the Saturn is just a failed console that competed against PlayStation 1.
It's so good. It's so good.
Especially 2D games. It does 2D so much better. Like, it's so smooth. Like, if you do a side-by-side of, like, any fucking Street Fighter, whichever Street Fighter game I guess was on PS1 and Saturn, you do a side by side and it'll run so much smoother on Saturn.
Now, if you were to take a guess, Aaron and Anthony, even without looking at your computer screens, we could do what we call how much does it cost?
Okay. Hell
all right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I am heading over to our Lord and Savior. Wow, what's the fucking price charting? Yes, price charting. So saith price charting. Okay, because apparently this game is very rare. Blastwind.
Are we guessing the price for Blastwind?
Yeah. So, why don't you guys take a guess at what new in box Blastwind for the Sega Saturn?
Does it have the spine card or no? Because that is a weird valuation thing. Sorry, I'm getting too complicated.
Yes.
And it's
$300.
Okay, Aaron, what's your wager?
301, Jerry. No, I'm kidding.
No, this is not. Yeah, I didn't know his Price is Right rules. I would have changed it.
No, I'm kidding. I want to say 500, especially new in box. 500.
All right. Well, the results are in. Aaron.
Yeah.
You are not the father. I'm just kidding. What?
No.
Yeah, you are the father. So yeah, $528 new is what you're gonna pay.
It's expensive now.
Yeah, and then of course you got that stupid fucking graded is $1,506.
Money laundering.
Let's hear it for graded video games. Fart sound here.
What is it, the line from Tommy Boy? I could take a shit in a box too.
Yeah.
Just throw a Titus laugh in there for graded games.
That was perfect for the Tommy Boy quote. Oh my god.
I don't understand some of the prices I see, and I've almost made a video a few times on this, but there's some cans of worms I don't really feel like opening because I have to read the comments. And I'm sure you guys get it. For every comment on the channel that somebody sees and they're like, what the hell is that person talking about? There's like 20 in the held comments where I'm just wondering like, where does this person live? So like money laundering and game grading is just one topic that I just haven't wanted to wade into yet. But one day I will, because clearly no one's actually, I hope no one's paying $50,000 for graded copies of Super Mario Brothers, because
I know.
I'll sell you a nice one for $20.
Yeah.
Right. They're fucking everywhere. You can go
a nice one.
You could go to any garage sale in Iowa and find a pretty goddamn decent shaped copy of Mario 3 for like $2.
It might have like a sticker on it that has like a scratch and sniff smelly thing from like grade 1 in 1997 that has like Andrew's name carved into the back of it or something, but like still plays.
Andrew plus Maribel forever. No. Yeah.
Maribel.
Dude,
Bradley just carved in the back.
Even graded cards like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh and shit like that shit's also a scam. Like don't get your things graded, because like I don't know, it's just stupid. Like
it really is.
Track the price on like price charting or like any other website, and base your prices off the market. What is it? What in demand? Supply and demand. Yeah. Don't just be like, oh,
what in demand? It's like a Jeopardy question.
It's stupid, man. It's so stupid. Don't just think, oh, I have brand new mint condition game, therefore $50,000. Like, yeah, it's
people
dumb.
Getting the same with that. There's currently a 3DO M2 console for sale on Yahoo Auctions Japan. The person's asking about the equivalent of $100,000 for it, and then people message me being like, "Is it worth $100,000?" I'm like, no, someone's just asking for that. Like I could ask $200,000 for one. That doesn't mean it's worth it.
Yeah, it's
just a number that's imaginary to somebody. But people see that number and they're like, "This game is worth this much money." It's like, no, that's what somebody asked you for it. I could ask $100 for a gallon of gasoline. If you're dumb enough to pay me, I'll take it. But chances are you're going to go to the dude selling it for $5 a gallon. It's wild.
Exactly.
Like, I'm working on maybe a series idea, which I'm calling "Let's Ruin the Resale Value," where I take rare sealed games that have never been opened only because I forgot to open them, and then opening them on camera and reviewing them, basically being like,
I love it.
Let's just ruin the.
I love that.
I was one of the few people to actually get a copy of Paprium for the Sega Genesis, and I think probably because I had a channel, maybe, and this game has been sitting in its cardboard box in my closet. It like showed up a week before Christmas, and I'm like, I didn't even think this was ever going to come out. I thought it was a scam, and it's been sitting there for like 3 years. So I think on camera I'm going to just do "Let's Ruin the Resale Value," open it up, play it, and then put it back on the shelf, because I don't collect sealed things. I more buy things with the intention of playing them, and then they stay sealed.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
Big
Please have me
on
as a guest commentator.
Yeah, slit that.
And here he goes. Yeah,
slit that shrink wrap, baby.
With it. Yeah, take all that shrink wrap off. No, take it off.
Throw it in the trash can. Pull it up first. Yeah. I was getting almost Hulk Hogan with that on accident.
Take off all the cellophane. Yeah, take the cellophane off, brother. And with that, Anthony, I would love to know, because we ask all of our guests the same question. What is your favorite video game memory?
I saw that and I really debated it. It's, there's 100 of them, but this one actually is topical. I was capturing Beastbuster's Second Nightmare yesterday or the day before when I was doing my closet reorganization, because I'm kind of trying to go through and take some of the rarest games that don't have great captures and do them all now again at 4K. And that's like a perfect Halloween game. but I was out at the X Games in Aspen, Colorado, because I worked in skiing for a long time and I was a coach at the X Games. And the hotel we were staying, I was a coach at the X Games, US Free Skiing Open. I did like ski films.
Awesome.
Like if you ever seen a snowboard film, skateboard film, I did that for skiing, and I was a coach for a long time.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Every time I talk about my normal life, people are highly entertained because probably I'm way more interesting probably not doing video games. But the hotel we were staying at had a game room, and I still love video games. You know, Carrie, I think, oh God, what year was that? It was probably like still like Game Boy Advance era. It was like 2006. I can't remember. Maybe PlayStation Portable was out by then. But there was this cabinet in the game room, Beastbuster Second Nightmare, and I'd heard of the Hyper Neo Geo, but never played it. And I just probably like pumped $100 worth of Burton Snowboards money into the machine. I think I per diemed those quarters, and I beat it and I played it. And the game room was next to a pool. And to this day, when I smell chlorine, I see Beastbuster Second Nightmare in my head. The smell of chlorine and a pool and that video game are intrinsically tied together. And it was like a complete mistake. So that's probably like my favorite memory because it's just a really good story. And now every time I walk by a pool, I just want to shoot some zombies.
That's so fucking cool.
That's awesome. It's kind of like with me with like the smell of cigarettes and Super Mario Brothers and Zelda.
every time I see one of those like Fast and Furious arcade cabinets that we only ever have here in Iowa at like Walmart and like Pizza Ranches, which is like a chain of like buffet pizza places in Iowa and I think other states. Whenever I see that Fast and the Furious arcade cabinet, I always think of pizza, and I get hungry immediately.
It's funny how that works, but I mean, I've got so many good, favorite gaming memories. Like I walked into a Salvation Army in Chicago like 12 years ago and bought like 40 like mint condition PC Engine shmups and platformers for like $50. Like $50, like $1.25 a game, and I still have all of them. Like we're talking Parasol Stars,
Damn,
a bunch, like really good stuff, and it was like $1.50. And I was just thinking, like, how did these end up here? Who gave them up? Did someone's like angry girlfriend bring them by because he, some dude just played for 20 hours? But like stuff like that. There's so many good memories. I play a lot of normal games too. Like my wife and I played all the way through The Witness from start to finish. You guys ever play that game?
Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Co-hosts talk about it.
And not to spoil like the big reveal midway through the game, but neither one of us saw it coming. We were totally both blown away, and we found out that there was like a completely it was like the inverted castle in Symphony of the Night. You find out that there's like this whole other game that you haven't even known about. And that was just like, also like, who the fuck thought about this? Like brain working at a level that I could never even think of. I'm like, oh, connect the dots, fun puzzle. And then like you find out there's this whole meta game going. So that's another favorite of mine. Because awesome. I try to talk about those games sometimes on the channel, but it's just not what my audience wants. So like I did a series called Philosophical Ponderings where I did like different like high level philosophical concepts in games. And I did The Witness. I don't remember what the concept of that was. Like Stanley Parable was like free will versus determinism. Like I've done so many different weird things, and The Witness, still playing that game is one of my favorite gaming memories.
That's awesome.
Dude. Yeah, that is awesome. Well, what do you say, fellas? Shall we talk about some rare and obscure arcade games? So Anthony, of course, on your channel, even just recently, I've seen some stuff that I was like, I forgot about that. So you're absolutely right. Like your channel is that channel of like, hey, that thing that I forgot about that I put in that one little fold of my brain, you're like unlocking these memories, which is such a cool thing. And one of the things that I've noticed on your channel is like half the time I'm like, oh, that cool arcade game. I forgot about even knowing about that. But then sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is, like at all. So the first one I want to talk about, because I found out about this, like, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago. My co-host on Super Ghost, Greg, brought it up to me. He was like, "You ever heard of this Castlevania arcade game?" And I was like, "No. What is it? What is it? Like a side scroller?" He was like, "No, dude. It's a goddamn first person game, and you have like a Wiimote whip thing that you whip people." Yes. So Anthony, you did a video on this, and do you have that board? Did I understand that right?
So it basically is a computer in a box. So to call it an arcade board is like trying to say that the computer I'm talking on right now is an arcade, box. Once you get to like 2004, 2005, they all become like budget level PCs, which are, fun games, but I don't really get to the hardware that much. So all you really need is a dump of the hard drive. But for some games, those become insanely difficult to get, especially if you're trying to source them out of Japan, because there's like this whole cultural IP law thing over there where even sharing something amongst friends that no one cares about, it gets a little like you need to make relationships, get really friendly with people. But it took me a long time to find it, but I was able to find a copy of the hard drive. And because, having done some of the Konami reverse engineering, I'm like, okay, we can probably figure out how to make this not look for the security dongle, this USB key that goes into the side of the machine that unlocks it. Or the engineers at Konami left it in the INI file, and all you do is go in with Notepad and just change security from 1 to 0.
Way.
And it fucking bypasses it. Literally.
No way.
Yeah, there was no reverse engineering of anything. They just left the option in the INI file. You go in and you just say, like, don't check for the security, and the game's like, all right, well, I'll just boot them.
Oh my God.
I thought it was going to take months, and it took like 2 minutes. Like somebody on my Discord was helping. We got the controls like modified so that it'll like real-time read your mouse and keyboard inputs and then inject those into RAM at certain addresses so the game can control it. So now you can use a Wiimote with a motion sensor bar on your PC and whip just like you normally would. You can use a gun for IR. Anything that's a mouse can now be the whip in Castlevania. So I uploaded it. Well, Lance Charleson uploaded it. I got a friend, his name's Blake, and he always makes up different email addresses, and one of them is Lance Charleson, which just sounds like Dirk.
Lance Charleson.
It sounds like Dirk Diggler's like roommate that just got cut out of Boogie Nights.
Dirk Diggler.
And he loves Castlevania more than any series. So when I had to come up with a pseudonym online to release the game, it was Lance Charleson. So now Lance Charleson releases all the rare lost arcade games on archive. So it's not me. I've never heard of it. It's this guy called Lance. He's big into Castlevania.
I'll give you his
shout out to Lance.
Love Stromboli, great guy.
Oh
man. So with that, how is that game? How's that play? Is that good?
It's actually good. And I was always surprised because there's this an arcade Galloping Ghost, like maybe 30 minutes away from where I am, and they have a cabinet there, but it is always down because, these machines get beat on. No one treats them nicely, but the game actually doesn't suck. It's really good. And, it's not a pachinko machine, which is what Konami just does now. All the slot machines, like it is shockingly actually a really good game. Then I found that other light gun game, Akuma Mortis Immortal, which never actually released, and I thought that was going to suck too. That's the hard part. Like, sometimes you spend a lot of time hunting for something that you think you're going to love and you get it in and it absolutely is a garbage game. And you're like, why did I think this was good? But luckily the last couple of releases we've been able to do have been really good. And I mean, I'm the one that releases it. I find these things, but I've got so many people on my Discord that help with the coding. Like, this is like a band. Like, I'm the conductor. I know all the people, but there's so many people that know more than me that help me get these things running. So I can't pretend it's just me. I'm just the person who's really good at,
you just show up.
Yeah. I just make the personal relationships. I find the stuff and then I take it to a group of people and I'm like, well, between the 6 of us, there's one functioning brain. So let's put that brain together and figure out how to make this work.
That's so cool, man.
That's really cool.
Another one. What were you going to say, Aaron?
I was just saying that's really
cool.
That
was the statement?
That's it. That was just really awesome, man. Like it's wild that people are taking these like obscure, hidden, and like just taking all of this cool shit from like video games of yesteryears past and just cracking into it like a safe in like Ocean's 11 and then preserving it. Like I would have zero clue how to do any of this, but I'm so glad that other people are not stupid like me. It's so cool. It's super cool.
I mostly just get lucky with it. It's just one of those things like, it's not even so much like the game. It's just, I don't like being told no. It's like a personality trait in life. Like someone's like, oh, that game doesn't exist. It's too hard to find. I'm like, well, now you made me want to find it. Now you made me want to prove that like it can be found. So like, I just love doing that. People being like, it's too hard to find. You're never going to find it. I'm like, oh, well, let me see if I can do it. And been lucky so far. But there's still some games out there that stump me to this day, like the 3DO M2 version of D2. I think it might be out there. I found a few little files
D2.
for it, but I chase down like 6 leads a year. They all go nowhere, but it could be tomorrow that it shows up. It could be 10 years from now. It could have been deleted 25 years ago. But the idea that I can't definitively like say yes or no to something's existence means that I want to like Indiana Jones style. The idol's out there somewhere. You just got to find the sand, switch it out for the idol, and not get hit by the boulder on the way back. So maybe next week.
That boulder being Nintendo's lawyer, the DMC. What are the dudes that like that serve you papers? DMCA. What are they called? Yeah. The dudes that are like, you've been served.
Yeah, the process server. Yeah, they've been doing all the DMCA takedowns with AI now. I mean,
really?
A lot of it's this last round has been all automated. That's why it's so across the board and sporadic. Where Nintendo like will take down Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario World, but they won't take down another version of Super Mario World that's up because it's all AI. And I don't really, that's a fun puzzle right now. It's not fun because it sucks for everybody, but for me, trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen, I like those sort of like trying to presume and guess at things, but I don't think it's going to get any better before, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I think we're going to keep having to go through this.
Yeah, I think so too. But on a lighter note, have you seen anything on this SegaSonic the Hedgehog, the arcade thing with the trackball?
Oh yeah, people send me auctions all the time for this stuff.
Is that thing expensive?
I think they're asking like $3 or $4 grand for it right now, is where it's going at, which I guess for how rare it is, isn't expensive, but it's just not, it's not in my realm of interest. And it's just a different version of the game. Like you can go download that game, play it on MAME. Like you can play that, title. It's just a different revision that happens to be exceedingly rare. But I mean, $3,000-$4,000 for a different variant ROM for me is just not where I put them. If I'm going to spend $4,000, it's got to have a motor in it, or I have to be able to live in it. Those are my
or you get the best of both worlds and you get a fucking motor home.
Yeah. I have to be able to eat it, and I have to be able to fuck it. No. So I do another show kind of solo, Super Pod Saga, and we did an episode on 2D Sonic games. We actually talked about this one a little bit, and it looks really, really interesting. It's the first the first appearance of what is his name? The flying squirrel guy. I can't think of his name anymore.
Yeah.
Ray?
And they brought him. Yeah, they brought him back for Sonic Mania as like an unlockable character.
Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah.
I don't remember what his name is though.
That looks awesome. I'd love to give that a shot sometime. And the art style looks really fucking cool.
Is the only difference in the variation for that really expensive one the fact that it's the trackball version?
I can't exactly, off the top of my head, I can't remember why that one is rarer than most. Maybe Sonic swore in it. I don't know. There could be any number of reasons. Like maybe Sonic muttered something he shouldn't have. I'd have to look it up. It's one of those things like I played the game, like I do collect Sega stuff, but it's just like outside of that realm of like remembering exactly what the difference is. Maybe Michael Jackson touched it. Who knows?
Among a lot of other things. So Hang Pilot. I just seen this on your channel maybe today or maybe yesterday. I think this is like a new video for you, but as I was, watching your channel like I do on my lunch breaks, I was like, hey, wow, this game looks interesting, but
what the fuck?
It looked kind of clunky too. I don't know if it's like, how playable is it because doesn't this one have like the actual hang glider that you're supposed to use?
Yeah, the cabinet basically has like a triangle that you can like hold on to and shift around. But what it really comes down to is all of those games, whether you're holding on to like a hang glider, whether you're standing on skis and like Sega Super G, it is all just analog controls, an X coordinate, a Y coordinate. So it really does actually pivot over relatively well to either an analog, like an Xbox Series X controller on your PC, or for like most of my arcade racing games, I've just done custom modifications to use like a PlayStation 3 controller. So they're actually very playable. You just, the big appeal to that is standing in front of the giant cabinet and pretending you're hang gliding. But it's just one of those games. You know, Konami made really weird stuff. They continue to make some really weird stuff, and it's one of those. I knew 99 out of 100 people would not know what it was, and the views 100% reflected the fact that nobody knew what it was, and most people did not care. That was just a dud from. I can tell in the first 10 minutes if it's going to go well or not. And 10 minutes into that video's release, I'm like, there's just some games I should not make videos on, but I can't help myself.
The selling point. Do you like hang gliding? And then you just lose half of your audience.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, there's the Pilot Wings. There's Pilot Wings, the cult classic that everybody knows and loves. You hang glide in that. That's pretty cool.
I mean, I love Pilot Wings.
That's like, there's like 4 people that love Pilot Wings. So that was the joke I was trying to make, but I failed.
What?
It is. There's a Taito makes a series of games in Japan. I don't think they ever come over to the US. The first one was called Landing High, and it is a commercial airline simulator. All you do is land and take off in jumbo jets. And I've always wanted to make a video on that, but I just know, I'm like, no one cares. Like Densha to Go, like the train simulator. I know people get really into that. It's not my thing, but you know,
simulated. Is that the one for Dreamcast?
That's been on pretty much everything. Like Densha to Go, like it's been on PlayStation 1, the Saturn. It's just like you're a Japanese train conductor and you have like a train controller and you open the doors and push the button to tell people to be safe. That's and
awesome.
It's really simmy.
You know there's some fucking people out there that like will put the full conductor hat on, get the suit on, and sit down with that game and just be like, I am
good to go watch the video. Right as soon as it starts, dude, they got their little train whistle from the train land down the street.
That's Robbie from Discord. He loves that game. And
he's just always got the train conductor.
It's goddamn conductor outfit on.
He just walks around in Texas with a full conductor's outfit on, just ready to talk about Densha to Go anytime anyone asks. People don't ask, and he says it.
Oh man, dude. Side note though, the all the shit that's on the screen at one time on Landing High, that looks really confusing and like kind of overwhelming, but I'd still watch that. That looks cool. Yeah, there's like the time, there's so much shit on the screen. Holy cow.
It's a weird game. Like I've played it before just to check it out. It's not my cup of tea, but it would make a fun video. Maybe one day I'll actually like, I don't know, go on eBay and buy a real. I've had this idea to buy a like classic actual fighter jet flight stick to mod that into an arcade setup, but every time I look at the prices I realize that people collect that stuff and it's not just a $10 item, and I realize I don't want to spend $800 in like an F-16 fight stick. But one day.
Yeah. Another one too that I seen recently was Jetwave on your channel, and that, you know, I love Wave Race. I'm a sucker for Wave Race.
Jetwave
I have not
like shit.
I have not played Jetwave, so how does it compare to, like, you know, the better Sea-Doo?
Jetwave is like, it's basically Kirkland brand Wave Race. It's just not. It's not good. Like there's fun to be had in everything. Like it is competent. It controls. You can get around the course, but like. It's like Konami made a bad photocopy of a good Sega game. And they love to do that. Like Konami could make really awesome titles. Like some of their stuff, like Solar Assault, GTI Club, Code 1 Dispatch, absolutely awesome. Like 10 out of 10 charming, good arcade games. But then there was like a whole other division of Konami, which basically was like trying to copy someone else's homework. And they just were not good
That
at
is what Kirkland brand is.
Yeah. It's a Kirkland brand game. It's just like, there's no real bad games out there. There's fun to be had and everything, but I've got a soft spot for Konami 3D arcade hardware. It's just like one of my biggest collection points, and I've got some boards in the closet that are objectively not good games, but I love them because they're weird and they're different, and I wouldn't spend a lot of money on Jetwave if you want a board. Just if you see one in the wild, throw 50 cents in, say you played it, and move on.
So I have a question. What would you say is the most rare thing that you have in terms of arcade?
Ooh.
Rarest thing I have is I've got a prototype Samurai Showdown 64 beta cartridge, what they would basically use for location testing.
What?
And actually, Eurogamer did an article on that because it was found in a field in California under a tarp under a tree. The story is this old arcade operator bought out SNK's inventory when SNK went bankrupt and became SNK Playmore in the early 2000s. And there was they produced these test cartridges to basically beta tests in arcades. It's the only prototype ever to be found. I captured it. I shared it on YouTube, and I am going to dump it. It is just 96 ROM chips, all on a custom riser board with a custom female mating connector. So I've got to figure out how to get 96 chips read and preserved without fucking up and accidentally erasing one. So it's been a long process, but that is probably the rarest item I own because it is the only one that has ever been seen, to this day.
Like the one you have.
The one I have is the only one that's ever been known to exist, and no one else has ever been able to show a photograph of another one.
Yeah, I think that is considered fucking rare.
Yeah, and the guy I got it from, I made a deal with him. It was basically, I paid him I don't know, the cost of 5 large pizzas for this thing because I just wanted somebody to have it. And the deal was, I will never sell it. And if I do, I have to sell it for the price I paid for them. And I have gotten offers from collectors that are just absurd, like Dubai, dudes in Dubai who have the same last name as the royal family. They might be 47th in line to the throne. And I've gotten offers in the nice certified pre-owned BMW 5 Series price point. I'm just I can't sell the thing. I don't want to either. But it gets up there into the sealed graded game price territory for people, but it's just chilling out next to me in my closet, and it'll be there till I die or until I finally smarten up and decide to collect things that are smaller and less cumbersome.
That's so cool. But you know what?
That's really fucking cool.
That's the whole point, though, right? You're not in this to just take something and go, oh, this is more money to me. It's you have this piece of video game history that was found under a goddamn tarp. It's got a cool shit story. You have the only one that is known to exist. All that, sure, yeah, money's pretty fucking cool, but I don't know, having something like that is, I don't know, it's way cooler to me that you are the sole owner of that one thing.
I mean, it's a fun thing to have, and it's a good game, which is the other nice part. Is at least the rarest thing I own doesn't suck as far as playing it's concerned. But I just gotta, I think I'm gonna run the video either this Friday or next Friday. It's got a Psychic Force 2012 board in Taito Wolf. It's basically a computer motherboard with a 3D effects card jammed in on a custom riser with a JAMA edge out, and that's not an easy one to find. But I just got that one in a couple of weeks ago. But there's so much random rare.
Do you have a fucking storage facility? How do you have all this? You keep saying that. How big is this closet?
It's basically, the closet goes to Narnia, and it's like Tetris. It's all stacked up in there. And I had to reorganize it because my office was starting to look a little bit fucked, just an avalanche territory. So I had to go through it. And it's not that I even own an obscene number of things. It's that some of these arcade boards are the size of a coffee table. They come in a big metal box. They weigh 15 pounds. So it's sort of one board. Some of them are small and they're JAMA, but right next to me is Operation Tiger. It's on the floor because I need to capture it again. That was another one that took me forever to find. But it's probably the size of I don't know, a Mac Pro. Just think of a big computer case. It's that size. And then you have 20 or 30 of those things. And all of a sudden it's real creative with the space.
Wow.
I don't collect anything small, apparently. Everything's huge.
That's all right. That's why I collected for the 3DS and the DS for so long, because I just don't have the motherfucking space.
I don't either. I kind of maybe not officially bought an arcade cabinet at a Godzilla movie marathon over the weekend. So I got to find a place to put that. I shit you not. So I just played Beastbuster Second Nightmare on Friday, the game that I was talking about, the chlorine story. Game. They're not easy to find. They're extremely rare. And a friend of mine, his other friend, comes to this Godzilla movie marathon, and my friend Austin introduces me, and he's like, this guy really likes arcade games too. I'm like, oh, what do you got? He's like, have you heard of this game, Beastbuster Second Nightmare? I'm like, You fucking kidding me? I'm like, there's like 12 of these things left in the world, maybe. He's like, yeah, I got one like 4 or 5 years ago for like $400 off like an old like bar rec room.
Holy shit.
So I'm like, it's nice to meet you. I want to buy this. I'm like instantaneously being like, I know we're here for Godzilla, and don't get me wrong, I like kaiju, but now I want to make a deal on Beastbusters. So I'm trying to, I'm going to need a storage unit. I do not have the space for that cabinet in the house. I'd have to basically sleep standing up like Coneheads, but maybe we'll see.
Hi, I'm Anthony. Here's my credit card.
I just picture like somebody being like really into like Godzilla and like, oh, this is a really good part. This is the part where Godzilla opens his mouth, and you're like, yeah, that's cool. So how are we doing this transaction?
Yeah, so you got Venmo?
Yeah, and they're like, yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this part in Godzilla, the part when he lights up and then he screams, and you're like, that's cool. Fucking Beastbusters though. Like, when can I buy it?
When
like,
can I pick it up?
Eventually you just hit pause on the movie. You're like, when the fuck are we doing this deal? Huh? When's this happening? When is this happening? You're standing in front of the TV with your arms out, wanting to fight the guy now.
And what he really wants is like, he's like, and he had seen the channel, didn't realize he had seen the channel before. I told him the channel name. He's like, oh, that's where I heard of this. He wants a full Mister setup, and I'm drowning in Misters right now between review stuff. I just got a new IO board in for review for like 24-bit color for Mr. add-ons. Like, I'm just like, oh, you want a Mister? Well, then basically like open up my trench coat being like, which one do you want? I got this one, I got that one, I got the other one. Like, there's Misters littered throughout this house. I could put a Mister in the bathroom at this point in time.
Ooh, okay. Play some Secret of Mana while you're taking a Duke. That'd be cool. I mean, yeah, you could just play it on fucking anything, your phone, I guess. But that was a bad example. Please continue.
I mean, you could play it in your living room and still take a shit. It's just a little less.
It's frowned upon.
A lot more cleanup.
We just bought a brand new couch, and it's very, very white. So I think I better be careful on that one.
No Secret Man on that couch.
Yeah, I just don't want to be the one that stains the couch first. I'll totally stain that couch, but as long as it's not me who does it first, then I've got immunity. And now I've just basically been like treating this couch like it's a hospital bed, being like, I don't want to infect this thing. Like, I'm just going to stand over in the corner.
You guys just go in and like grate it every day, and you're like, it appears to be a speck of dust today.
It'll be destroyed in a year. We've got a dog and a cat. It's one of those things. Like, the old couch was like super comfortable, but one day we sat down on it and the leg basically just like fell off almost.
Oh my God.
It was time.
Yep, it's time
to spin the wheel of which bodily fluid will make it onto the couch today. And you spin it, it's like, oh.
All of the above.
Man,
so Anthony, what?
Go.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go. You go.
I was gonna say, I wish I didn't live in Iowa, so I had some like really cool collecting stories, because you don't ever find anything other than like what's really popular in Iowa. God damn it! Get me out of this state. Get me out of here.
I haven't really like
get his hand on a Mister.
I haven't even really like found anything rare in Chicago. It's been years. Like, now, like, everyone knows it's worth money. Like, and on rare things find me now. Someone will be like, hey, I got this thing. Do you want it? Like, now I've become known as the person that like the home for wayward and abandoned hardware. So someone will contact me being like, I got this thing. Do you want it? And I'm just like, I'm not going to say no. But that's like, once you get to a certain point of being known for taking in ridiculous hardware, then people just like start showing up at your door. Like, the baby slot at the fire department. People are just throwing babies in the slot every month now.
What?
Do you guys not have the baby slot at your fire department? Is that a Chicago thing? Just throwing babies away?
I mean, I've heard of like babies just showing up on the doorstep of a fire department, but not like through a slot. Like, they're just cramming a whole baby through a slot.
Yeah, it's like a fucking Blockbuster video rental return.
Yeah, except for babies.
It's just a paste as it comes through.
You get a fat baby, you're like, God damn it won't go in. You're using your feet and shit to squash it in there.
Oh man, I don't know what the fuck I was gonna say before that, but that was good.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. So that is definitely for sure one of the most rare things I've ever heard of anybody owning before. What would you say is an arcade game? Let's see if you can throw an arcade game on us right now that neither of us would ever know about, potentially, that is actually good.
Actually good. That's the hard part because I deal in a lot of jank. I feel like at least one of you will have known about this or played it, but one game that I am always telling people they need to play and so many people don't know is Night Slashers by Data East.
That's with ninjas,
I've only heard.
No, it's
like a horror game, right?
It's a horror beat 'em up. Vampires, zombies. One of the sprites is definitely Michael J. Fox from Teen Wolf. Like, it is just an awesome game. Or maybe the Cliffhanger Edward Randy, also by Data East, also an awesome game. Just one that, like, people for some reason, Data East made some like as good as Sega, Capcom, Konami, Namco games ever, but they just kind of like always get relegated down a level. But like Night Slashers is just a straight up 10 out of 10 game. It's not cheap, but you can emulate it on MAME, and it's just 30 minutes of straight up good arcade beat 'em up action. Great soundtrack, great goer, like just plays the horror angle and the comedy up hard. Like, one I recommend to anybody.
These sprites look...
That's a good one.
Oh, holy shit. These sprites look awesome, especially the zombies. Like, they're incredibly... Like, I'm looking at a review of the game on Nintendo Life, and they have some really high-res images of them. And yeah, these zombies are really detailed. Like, you can see their ribs and, like, their intestines kind of falling out. They have, like, you can see, like, their blood vessels and shit kind of hanging out of their arms. Do you
know if this is awesome on the Mister?
It's not on the Mister, no. That's a lot of the Data East stuff hasn't come over yet. I've been hoping, but I mean, with all these new like clone devices, like Taki Udon's making the clone Mister boards and stuff, and Mister feels big, like as far as a group is concerned, but like it's a drop in the bucket compared to any other platform. Like the Playdate probably outsold Mister 10-1 by now, and that's a black and white handheld. Great, I love it, but it's just like one of those things. Like, we think we're a huge like group within gaming, and we're just basically like minuscule, I'm sure. But the more people that get Misters, the more people that start playing them and like helping devs financially on Patreon, like the more cores we're going to get. So we're kind of like, I feel like at a tipping point where like people's names that you've never heard of in the FPGA scene before, like developers are going to start probably coming over and making more cores, because it's one of those things. Like, first you got to like, and all my hardware, I've told anyone that I, real developers that I trust, like, if you want something out of my closet to develop a core on, just try not to break it before you get it back to me. And if you break it, just let me know how you broke it so I can fix it. But all my stuff in the closet is 100% available for research. If I know the person, they can have it and play with it. But that is not one that's on Mister. I don't. It's expensive as shit. If I'm going to spend, I think it's like $1,500, $2,000 now. And if I was going to drop that kind of cash, it would totally be for a Rastan Saga 3 board, because that is just my all-time favorite beat 'em up. Dual screen, ultra widescreen like style, like 2 4x3 monitors side by side, and it's just a great game.
What is it called?
Warrior Blade, Rastan Saga 3.
Oh, I've heard of that for the Genesis.
I have never heard of this.
Not like Rastan Saga. Yeah,
there's Rastan, which is amazing. Rastan Saga 2, which is a flaming pile of shit game. It is terrible. And then Rastan Saga 3 is basically righted all the wrongs and is just straight up gold. But it is, again, like $2,000 all day for a board.
Sweet Jesus.
God damn.
Yeah. Oh, one of the things that I stumbled upon when I was doing some MAME setups when I had my the Steam Deck was this. I think it was like Arabian Nights or something, and it had this like really crazy. It was a beat 'em up, but like it was very much like multi-layered in a weird way, like, and the graphics were crazy too. I'm pretty sure it was called Arabian Nights.
Yeah, that's Sega and the Multi-System 32, right? The sprites like get like really close to the screen, almost looking like it's like anime, and that it's not a very good game. It's the gameplay I remember not being great, but like it was like when Sega was like really big into their scaling stuff. But that's
Arabian Fight.
Arabian Fight.
Okay.
That's why I was tripped up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was Sega. Not to spoil all of the channel stuff, but I work really far ahead. Like a series that's going to start March of next year. I did a beat 'em up series on like rare and obscure beat 'em ups, and both Rastan Saga 3 and Arabian Fight are going to be on there. So they're uploaded. I'm just going to have to wait till like March and then forget what I said. That's always happens on the videos. Like people will ask me a question about something. I'll be like, I don't know, man. I got to go whack it and watch it. I have no idea what I'm talking about anymore.
Whack it and watch it.
Yeah.
I see it on a daily basis.
6 months ago, I made this thing and I don't remember what I said. Like very, very far ahead on schedule wise.
That's how I am with podcasting. Like
that's
Aaron
I was
like,
going to say
this
that
episode
too,
that we just recorded like 4 days ago is so good. And I'm like, dude, I don't remember recording that episode.
Yeah. That Arabian Fight game looks super rad. I had a guest on the other podcast like I think 2 years ago who talked about that game and how fucking weird and janky it was. And I'm looking at some really wild screenshots. First off, there's a bunch of like really anime looking screenshots or really anime looking screenshots of like a girl right up in the fucking screen. And then there's a dude with really long arms. He's really cool. It looks kind of cool.
It's a strange one. It's like it's fun to look at, but I would say like the gameplay, like definitely style over substance on that one. But it is like graphically fun and impressive.
Hell yeah,
that's awesome.
So I guess maybe we can talk about some of our favorite must-play arcade games. Anthony, you kind of just mentioned this Rastan game.
Rastan Saga 3.
Rastan Saga 3. Yeah, everybody go check that out because it does look really cool. I would imagine that's available on MAME.
Yeah, works super easy. Just throw the ROM in there, load it up, you're playing.
Sweet. What would you say are some of your other favorites? I know that we've heard of Night Slashers and Rastan Saga 3, and then the what was the Beast one?
Beastbuster Second Nightmare. I mean, super common, but I can sit down and play Scud Race any day of the week for like, think you're going in for 10 to 15 minutes and then you just sit there for like 2-3 hours. Like any 3D Sega arcade racing game, I can lose half a day to, like Outrun 2, all of those, like just some of my favorites for sure. Yeah. House of the Dead, always a classic, stuff like that. Like a lot of the things I own are probably not my favorite games. I love them because the hardware is weird and they're not stuff that you've heard of. But like if I'm going to sit down for an hour and play a game, which now with the channel and the rest of my life shit, like I don't think I actually play games for fun anymore. I think it's always for content. But if I'm going to sit down and play like an arcade game to have some fun, it's totally going to be something you've heard of, like a Scud Race or Daytona 2 or House of the Dead, because those are the games I really like genuinely love.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Nice. I was going to mention Ninja Baseball Batman because I discovered this like last year, and I'm a sucker for beat 'em ups, so that's why I'm really excited to check out this Night Slashers game. But yeah, Ninja Baseball Batman was a pleasant surprise when I threw this on for the first time. It's so fucking good, and like the art style and stuff, and just like the enemy design and the character design. It's not an overly hard game, but like, I don't know. It just felt really, really good to play that game.
Which it's just like totally different than anything else. Like I get what you mean. Like the baseball enemies, like the umpire that's like a baseball inside of it. It's like you wonder like what somebody was on when they came up with this idea. Like people just sitting around the room, like 8 drinks deep, being like, "How about we make the game about Batman?" No, we don't have the license to Batman. We can't do that. No, we just call it that, but we actually make it about baseballs.
And then somebody else, some other guy just like railing a line of cocaine. He's like, "And ninjas!"
It's a classic. It's absolutely an amazing game.
I remember looking into that for Patreon series, and they actually have like the dude who currently still owns the license for Ninja Baseball Batman. He has like a comic series going, and it looks really fucking cool.
What?
Yeah, I forget what the fuck it's called though. You could probably just Google like Ninja Baseball Batman comic.
And it's like current, like it's still going.
I'm pretty sure.
It's also Berserk.
Which? Oh, Ninja Baseball Spirits is what it's called, but it's based off of like Ninja Baseball Batman.
That's wild.
Which character is your favorite in Ninja Baseball Batman? Because I always went with the guy with a really long, skinny bat.
The big dude, whoever the big guy is. Like I always go for like. It's basically like the Mike Haggart of baseballs. Yeah. Whoever that guy is in Ninja Baseball Batman is always my pick.
I like the green guy.
Oh,
he
yeah.
had like the double bats.
Double bats? Hell yeah.
Yep. He was cool
Nice
shit.
picks.
Yep. Yeah, man, I'm such a sucker for a beat 'em up. Like, there's something about them. And like this weekend I was at my buddy's place and he was like, dude, I think we're really stupid. This whole time we've been playing these arcade games on Mister and having to like, put quarters in, like assign like a quarter button or whatever. And he was like, you just go to the fucking dip switches and turn on free play. Done. Like, I don't know why we haven't been doing this. I'd like the dip switches. We are the fucking dip switches because we couldn't figure that shit out.
Yeah, but if you turn the free play on, then you don't get the attract mode. Like all that like preview to try to get you to drop a quarter in. A lot of arcade games when you go to free play won't play the attract mode or they won't give you sound in it. So you actually lose a part of the game by doing free play.
Oh.
So you actually aren't the dips. Like leaving it on coin up is the way to see the most of what the game offers. I mean, it's like 30 seconds, but people are always like, why don't I get the track mode on there? I'm like, oh, do you have free play on? They're like, yep. I'm like, just turn it off.
So here's a question. When you, like, say if you want to sit down with a friend and be like, hey, let's play through some Night Slashers. Are you just like, you just want to like kind of turn your brain off a bit and just kind of play the game and you're like, whenever you die, you just hit continue? Or do you like set like a challenge at all? Like, I've always wondered how people play these arcade games because like a lot of times me and my buddy will just literally turn our brains off and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's just throw a beat 'em up on. But like, there's not really any challenge, but it's just very enjoyable.
If like a beat 'em up, I'll just play it start to finish. I'll like, coin feed the thing, virtual coins all day long. But like bullet hell shmups are the one genre. Like I will give myself 4 continues when I'm playing. When I'm out of those 4 continues, I turn it off, I start the game over again. I give myself 4 to try to get to the end because those like require a set of like skills and reading the screen and fast movements where you actually want to like learn and get better at it. But no, if I'm going to put on a beat 'em up, I'm just going to mindlessly zone out. Like every once in a while in a video, if you watch it, you might see that like I stop moving for like a second in the game. Like if I'm playing a beat 'em up, my character just freezes for a second. I just like looked at my phone because my wife texted me. So like when I'm just playing a beat 'em up, sometimes my brain just is completely glossed over. And I've noticed that a few times in captures being like, why didn't I move for 4 seconds? I'm like, oh, I think I looked at my phone or Twitter for a second there. So I do require those games where I can just like totally mindlessly just like play and not care about it. Beat 'em ups are that genre. Like they always, pun intended, hit. They're always fun. Even bad ones are good, and you can just kind of sit there. That's why I love arcade games. You can sit down for half an hour, get a full game in, feel like you accomplished something, and then get up and do all the other things you need to do because I am too much of an adult, unfortunately, to be able to sink 12 hours a day into games anymore. Like I just don't have that time.
True.
I know I'm struggling to get through Stellar Blade. Like I managed to get to basically like a little further than the halfway point to talk about we did a review of it on Super Ghost, and like I haven't touched it since. I want to. I love that game, but like I'm like, but retro's always there for me. I could just throw something retro on so quickly and just get so much out of it in such a short amount of time.
That's true.
I don't know, something about it.
Yeah,
Aaron, what do you got for a recommended a favorite arcade game of yours?
I've changed mine quite a bit, but for sure Metal Slug. I'm such a fucking sucker for run and gun shooters.
They're all good.
Yeah, Metal Slug, Shock Troopers, these are my like kind of turn your brain off and go. Like I guess like Metal Slug kind of requires a little bit of like I guess tactical thinking because you gotta dodge bullets and shit. But yeah, Metal Slug, Shock Troopers, I had another one in my brain, another Neo Geo one. I already forgot it, but what the heck else did I have jotted? Oh, I'm gonna butcher the name. Gunbarish. It's like a Gunbird reskin of like Breakout or one of those games where, again, I forget the names, but it's like you bounce a ball against blocks, and every time the ball hits a block, it breaks it, and then you just have like the little paddle on the bottom, and you got to keep getting to the ball and bounce it off and stuff like that. It's super fun.
I like that shit.
And Red Earth, that's also a really, really cool one. It's like a fighting game RPG kind of like there's there's like what 4 or 5 characters you can choose from, and it's basically like you fighting against these big bosses, and as you go along you'll gain XP and you can level up and learn new moves.
That sounds dope. I don't think I've heard of Red Earth.
It's a fun one. The sprites in that game are cute because it's Capcom CPS3, so like some of the best like Capcom animation they've ever done back in the 2D era. It's a fun one, just like fighting giant monsters.
And they've got some cool characters. Like you can be like a.
You guys remember?
What?
Do you guys remember King of the Monsters?
Oh yeah, I think so.
There was King of the Monsters and King of the Monsters 2. I only ever I would imagine they were probably arcade games as well, but I only played the ones on Super Nintendo. But that was good shit too.
Yeah, they were Neo Geo games, and this I can't beat them. They're AI in that game. They're so cheap on Neo Geo. Like King of Monsters 2. Like I don't think I've ever seen the credits on that game, and that's something you can't credit feed. Like you just like get destroyed over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I beat that game, but with save states. That's the only way that I beat it. And even then, it was like, I just felt like I had to become the master of save states because then you would just get like completely fucked. But yeah, it's good shit.
My last 2 are R-Type Leo. I feel like this one is a little bit easier than other R-Type games because R-Type usually is pretty fucking hard, but R-Type Leo, it's short, not too difficult, and it's actually surprisingly fun. Like the levels are really, really, really cool. The soundtrack is really great to it. And the last one is In the Hunt.
Like, I love In the Hunt.
In the Hunt, or not in the, it's like a Metal Slug, but submarines, and it's just super, super fun, super quick, and it just plays so smoothly, man. Like I don't think I ever occurred any slowdown or anything like that. It's so cool.
It's a classic one for sure. Hard as hell though. Like that. Yeah. That's the type of game that I'm never going to be able to beat on one credit, and I try not to do that too much. Or like I don't have the time to try to learn a game to be able to beat it without continues. But that is one where if I was actually spending cores out of my pocket, I'd probably spend the rent money on it.
Yeah, there's one level toward the end where you're going through this level where there's constantly torpedoes shooting up from the bottom of the screen, and there's like maybe like a teeny weeny bit of a gap in between each torpedo, and you have to like kind of almost like tap dodge your way through these like teeny tiny gaps in between each torpedo and make it through it's impossible to do it without dying. It's impossible. It's insane.
Have you guys ever heard of, I would imagine, Anthony, you've heard of Armored Warriors.
Yeah.
It's such a good game. Oh my God. The game is so good. Have you heard of that, Aaron?
I don't think so. I'm going to look it up.
It's like a mech beat 'em up.
This looks so fucking sweet.
And you can basically like pick up parts of like the mechs you destroy and add them to your mech. Like you can change out your arms and stuff. Like Capcom was on fire back in the day. Like they were always like nailing home runs, and it is a fun one for sure. That makes me think of Battle Circuit. Have you guys played that one? Capcom as well?
I had that down on my list as well too. Yeah, that game is really, really cool.
I don't think I've played Battle Circuit.
You probably remember because like the first boss is basically Elvis Presley. Like you go in and it's like a Japanese Elvis impersonator in like a ring. You would definitely remember if you played it.
I don't think I did.
And
I really don't think I have.
There's some really there's a lot of cool characters you can choose from to play as too. Like I think the one I always go for is I forget what his name is, like something green, and it's just like this Venus flytrap plant guy. Each character has their own cool super moves and fighting styles, and like in between each level you can spend your money or whatever to buy new moves. It's rad, dude. We got to play that together sometime.
Yes we do. Yes we should. Yes we will. Anthony, what's another one that you would say is a must play for folks out there for arcade?
Must play arcade. I just had something in my head and it just floated away. What the hell was I thinking? Invasion the Abductors. It's Midway, It was like 1998. It's not well known, but it does emulate. It's just like classic sci-fi alien shootout, like light gun game. But it's got like a great sense of humor. In one level, you're going down the LA freeway and you see O.J. Simpson and Al Cowling's white Bronco go down the highway with you. It's just filled with like pop culture references from the 90s, like Pamela Anderson from Baywatch like comes out at one point in time, like, you know, not actually her, but basically Baywatch. Like, it's just straight B movie cheese, like alien invasion horror light gun, and nobody knows about it. And if UPS gets off their ass and actually moves the package from Florida to Chicago, it should hopefully be here tomorrow or Wednesday.
No way.
Yeah, somebody had one. It's broken, so it's a freebie, but I'm hoping it's not too broken. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes to fix something. Sometimes it takes me close to a year to fix it. Just depends on how bad it is when it comes in. But it's a fun, like, random, obscure, weird game. But it's just like classic 90s gaming sense of humor.
So will Lance Baggins or whatever his name is going to be uploading that onto archive?
That one's available. You can load it up.
Already out?
Yeah, it's there. You can load it up on MAME today. You can emulate it. It's just one of those games that just didn't hit, so not many people know about it, but way more people should be playing it. If you like light gun stuff. If you don't like light gun stuff, then don't bother with it. I love
light gun games, man. Like, I don't know what it is about a light gun game. It's kind of like, it's like a beat 'em up for me, but like a little bit more involved. Like, you can turn your brain off for a little bit, but like eventually they get kind of intense. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them do.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, everyone knows how to play it. If somebody comes over and they've never played a light gun game before, you just hand them the gun and you tell them point and, you know, shoot. Everyone gets it. Like, there's no like teaching it. It's not like a fighting game with a bunch of complex mechanics and different frame inputs. It's like gun goes bang, point gun at thing, pull trigger, bang, bang. Like, everyone gets that concept. Kids, adults. Like, that's like why the Wii was so popular with everybody. Like, you could give a Wiimote to like an 80-year-old and be like, pretend to bowl, and everyone's like, oh, I can figure that out. Like, that's why light gun games are just incredible, because they're like instantaneously accessible to anyone. They know how to play them.
Hell yeah,
that's so
dude.
True.
Well, I think that that'll do it for the topic. So why don't we take a quick break and hear from our sponsors today, and we'll be back with the closing and our random recommended games. All right.
We all know and love gambling, right? This whole the whole United States was built upon gambling. But what if I were to tell you, I don't know, your kids could gamble too, I guess. Gambling, but for the kids, just like Wu-Tang. It's for the kids.
Is it?
So yeah, hold on. So like you have your slot machines, right? Your Pokemon slot machines and everything. So like at Chuck E. Cheese's now, they don't give you like physical tokens and shit anymore. This is like the third Chuck E. Cheese reference for this fucking show. So Chuck E. Cheese's, they don't give you physical tokens anymore. You get a card and you load it up with virtual currency, but it's for the kids. So you slap $20 onto that card and you tell your kids go nuts, and then they can go gamble. Gambling is addictive, but
let me tell you, it puts people in jobs. Okay, you know,
and kids don't know what the word addictive means, so it's all right.
Well, now we have to introduce them. We have to get them addicted to something other than just video games. So why don't we marry up video games and gambling? It's never been done before. Never in a million years would anybody have ever seen this. Loot boxes, EA, and all those guys. Pachinko, Konami. But let me tell you, it puts people in jobs. You know, that's one Squirtle that was like really cool from the anime that had the glasses.
Squirtle Squad? Fuck
yeah. So he wears those because he is so addicted to cocaine. But now he has a job working at the Pokemon. He has a job at the Pokemon Casino for children. So, I mean,
that's right.
His eyes are permanently bloodshot. God bless him. So he has to wear those glasses for the rest of his life. However, he's there to give the tokens to the children so the children can get hooked on the Pachinko machines.
But you guys are missing the downside of all this. And I did read this story. It is true. I assure you of this. I did my research like I do with all the arcade games. So, with gambling, there's always the fallacy, the gambler's fallacy, that if they just get the house edge, they're going to be able to figure the game out. They're going to end up being able to know they're going to win. Like the guy on, Whammy, big money, no whammy, stop. The guy that gamed that show back in the 70s. So, Psyduck went missing because he got caught counting cards. Because obviously, if you are a psychic duck, what do you know that's coming next? The card. I guess apparently someone took him in the back room, put his bill in a vice, and they gave him cement wings and put him in Lake Mead, and he hasn't been seen. So, I mean, there's a downside to it. I mean, I'm all for getting kids addicted to something. I've let my nephews play more video games, and when I watch them play Fortnite, it's just basically like watching a junkie look for his next fix. But gambling,
exactly.
It's like a sports book. I mean, just give them an app, let them just go to town, and they're going to lose their money one day or another. May as well be on gambling.
It's no different than like purposefully letting your kid hang out with a kid that has chicken pox so they can get chicken pox and get out of their system like right away. Like you want to get them addicted to shit so that you can have them quit cold turkey, have them be miserable, and little 4-year-old Johnny's like, Mom, I don't feel so good. Well, maybe you shouldn't have been addicted to gambling. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten addicted to crack, young Rutherford.
It's really easy, folks. With the program that we've been offered by our sponsor, you just sit down with your child, ages 1.5 and up, and you just kind of sit down and you just repeatedly say, now repeat after me, Pikachu, Pachinko. Pikachu, Pachinko. It's easy. It's like a 2-step program, and within minutes, they're just going to be fucking losing their house, their future investments, everything will be gone, and they'll just get it out of their system.
They're not going to have any houses. We're all going to be living under tents under a bridge one of these days anyway, so you may as well just have craps in the tent.
Yes. Baby craps and the game craps. Of course, it's for the children. So you got,
for the
people
kids.
are shitting in the ball pit and they're spending all their money.
And all the while, it's stimulating the economy in a way that we haven't seen in the last maybe 20, 30 years. Dangle that Porygon that they could win in front of their face like a carrot. Like, dude, you could win this one Pokemon that you can only win from gambling. Like, you could get it. You could be the one kid that gets this, and they're like withering away. They haven't eaten for like 5 days. They're like shakily reaching for the pull down arm thing for the slot machine. They're like, ugh. I mean, they could win that. Kids gambling. They're dying.
We thank you so much for the sponsorship.
Thanks, dying gambling kids.
All right, and we are back from our word from our sponsors, and of course, it is the saddest but most generous time of this podcast. It is where we give you none other than
Random Recommended Games!
That's right, folks. We are generous lovers here on Retro Rehab, and we love to give you the games we love. So, Anthony, as our guest, I would love for you to randomly recommendate a game to the folks listening today.
I'm sure people that know me are going to know what's coming, but Killing Time on 3DO is probably my favorite game ever made. It is just Egyptian BioShock before BioShock ever existed.
What?
And Night Dive just announced their remaster of the game.
Holy
and
shit.
I knew about this like maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I'm going to be in the game somewhere. You'll have to find me. Look, if you go into the graveyard in the remaster, you can find me in there somewhere. But I've been, for the last 15 years, anyone who will listen, and many people who did not want to listen, I've said, play Killing Time on the 3DO. Yes, the frame rate's bad. Just get past it. It is just an epically entertaining first-person shooter that really predicted a lot of how story was going to go in the genre. Like, games we're playing in the last 5 or 10 years just seem like they're borrowing the mechanics from this game. It is just that good, and it's going to be out soon, maybe next month after that. Steam, all the consoles and stuff. I have nothing to do with the game. I don't make any money off it. I just love the damn thing. Play it. If you hate it, money back guarantee. You pay me nothing, so you get shit in return if you don't like it. But I love the thing.
Hell yeah, dude. That's good. I've actually never heard of this game before.
It looks
Most
really,
people haven't.
really rad.
It's a vibe for sure. It's just something that you've probably never played before, but once you start playing it, you're going to recognize like so many different games in that game that just like borrowed little elements of it, mostly on like the storytelling side of things, like how they kind of like interactively tell a story. And it's, you know, a 1995 first-person shooter with no loading zones, one giant open world map where you can kind of just pick your route through the whole thing and kind of like get the story as you go. It's like way ahead of its time.
Yeah, that sounds wild. I'm gonna have to mark that down and check
Weirdly
it out.
enough, there's a podcast in our network all about the 3DO, and I'm gonna let them know about this game, and that you hold it in such high regards. I'm really surprised they haven't done this one already.
To the point that you're in the remake.
Yeah. Looks like
that's wild.
It's just one of those games. I played it like at a certain point in my life and it stuck with me, and I've just been playing it once a year ever since, trying to convince anyone to play it. Now that Night Dive announced their re-release, the views on that video have gone way up, because when I first ran it, people were like, yeah, that looks like shit. 3DO sucks. Moving on. Which is the number one refrain for 3DO, that it sucks. I mean, it's not a Super Nintendo, that's for sure, but it's also not that bad. It's kind of bad.
Hell yeah. That's a good recommendation. My random recommended game this week is Final Fight, but specifically for the Saturn, because I played through that game on the weekend and I didn't realize how fucking hard the soundtrack slaps on the Saturn. It's so good. And there's, you know what? There's something about Final Fight, like the original Final Fight. At first, it kind of seems like a pretty just by the numbers beat 'em up, but like, I don't know, there's something about that game. It has like a weight to it, and it's very like hefty, and it's fucking tough. I mean, we got to the very last boss, the dude in the wheelchair, but I wasn't able to beat him. My buddy ran out of continues, and it was just me, and I got totally annihilated by this dude. But yeah, man, Final Fight, I don't know. It's a really good beat 'em up game that is, I think it predates Streets of Rage, and I feel like Streets of Rage probably borrowed a lot from Final Fight. And yeah, I would say that anybody who likes a beat 'em up should definitely check out Final Fight. And if you can do it, check it out on the Saturn, because that CD quality soundtrack is definitely something.
And after that, if you want to play a bad Final Fight game, you can play Final Fight Revenge on the Saturn. 3D fighting game in the Final Fight universe. It is garbage, but
it's 3D?
Most delicious garbage ever. Like if you were a raccoon, this would be filet mignon of gaming garbage. It is a 3D fighting game, Final Fight Revenge. And it's also like stupid rare. I think copies are like $800 to $1,000 now.
Oh, hold on, you're telling me I could see Mike Hagar himself standing still, holding his fists out like this and going like walking in a circle in 3D? That would 100% be cool.
It's worth $800, Aaron.
I guess so, just for that. I didn't know Final Fight was on the Saturn. I know it's on like the Sega CD. I didn't know it was on the Saturn though.
Yeah, I didn't know either until this weekend.
That's rad.
There you go.
Hey, here's another Saturn game for you. Baku Baku Animal.
I think I played this.
It's got like, so I don't know what the official term would be for a game like this. There's like a falling block puzzle game, I suppose, or like arcade style puzzle game where blocks fall from like the top or build up from the bottom or whatever. Yeah, it's one of those. And it's got like the weirdest, like most 90s early 3D looking models for animals and people and stuff. But it's awesome. It's so cool to look at. So fun. Basically, blocks of alternating between like animals and foods will fall from the top of the screen. So you'll have blocks for like monkeys, pandas, rabbits, and then blocks of like their favorite food will fall down, and if you connect the animal with the food, the animal will eat the food, and then that's how you clear out your blocks. It sounds really fucking stupid, but it's really fun. And all the while, yeah, it's got that, the visuals are just really, really cool. The soundtrack is zany and zesty. trying to use 2 Z words in one sentence, but
zany and zesty.
There's also a Game
New
Gear
flavor of
version.
Lay's.
I haven't played the Game Gear version.
I think the moral of the story here is the Sega Saturn is a good fucking console.
It is.
And more people need to check it out.
It's one of the best, and I mean, people are just finally figuring it out, which is going to do terrible things for the prices of games, but as long as people are having fun, I don't care at this point. I bought the things I want at this point. I don't have any room for anything else, so just keep... My game collection outperforms my 401k by far, so just keep making it more popular. Numbers keep going up, and one day I'll sell it all, buy an expensive sports car, and wrap it around a tree.
Just like the
or
end
just
of,
go hide it all underneath the tarp somewhere in California.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this life like Paul Walker.
Oh, I was gonna say Steve Buscemi at the end of Mr. Deeds, where he's like, "Man, these cars are fast," and then just like guns his fucking at the end. Adam Sandler buys everyone Ferraris in the town or something, and yeah, Steve Buscemi, he runs it right into a tree immediately.
Crazy
Great.
eyes.
Yeah, crazy eyes.
Crazy
Gumballs and Oreos. Mr. Deeds.
And with that, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a blast.
That was super fun. Thanks for letting me waste an hour and a half of your time on my ridiculous knowledge of things that I probably should never started learning about.
Anytime. So one more time for the people that are listening, go ahead and plug and promote anything that you want.
Just stop over to the channel, Video Game Esoterica. It is not Video Game Erotica. Some people misspell that. They get something completely different. But if I ever decide to start a new channel, that might be the second one. But swing by. I'm always around. I chat with people. I answer every comment, which can sometimes be tiring. But if you take the time to ask me a question, I will take the time to answer and do some fun shit. That's about it.
Good way to be. Hell yeah. And if you want to support us, leave a review or subscribe to the show. That helps. It's the easiest way to help us out, and it's free. You don't have to do anything.
That's right.
Leave a little review for us or subscribe to the show.
Tell us
you can also find all of our episodes. Yeah, tell us. Aaron, tell them to tell us. Tell them again.
Tell us we're good. Hey, tell us we're good. Yeah.
Tell us we're good. You can find all of our episodes and more over at thesuperpodnetwork.com. And until next time, see ya.